They swore love was eternal, but eternity has teeth. I believed them. I wore the promise like armor. I let it sleep on my chest and call itself safe. But armor rusts, and when it rusts, it bites. The promises, the laughter, the vows, all crumbled into dust. Golden words, brittle at the core. Soft hands that shook like candlelight when the wind arrived. I learned how tenderness can be a mask. I learned how a kiss can hide a knife. When the warmth died, the silence screamed louder than any battle. Silence isn't empty. Silence is crowded with ghosts. Every memory breathes there. Every breath is a blade. I tried to be still. The stillness tried to devour me. I stood beneath a sky that didn't flinch. Morning came like a stranger. The city kept moving. The clocks kept laughing. And I understood. The world doesn't pause for broken crowns. The betrayal wasn't just theirs. It was the world's indifference, sharpened into knives. They watched without watching. They heard without hearing. They let the fire spread and called it weather. That is how people abandon you. Gently, politely, with their eyes. They didn't notice. They never cared. They never looked back. Say it again, till the bones remember. They didn't notice. They never cared. They never looked back. Not tragedy. Arithmetic. I counted the days that bled. I counted the friends who turned to fog. I counted the messages that never arrived. Numbers speak where apologies don't. The total was a crown of thorns balanced on my tongue. I walked the corridors of what used to be us. Rooms without air, pictures without faces. Chairs that remembered the weight we promised each other. Every step cracked another tile in the palace we called forever. It was never a palace. It was paper, and paper burns. Look at your scars. Do you see weakness, or proof you survived? Do you see ruin, or blueprints? I looked. I read the map that pain etched into me. It pointed away from the grave. It pointed toward the throne. I asked myself the rotten questions. Was I too soft? Was I blind? Or was I simply human? Softness can be sharpened. Blindness can learn to listen. Humanity can learn to rule itself. I learned the grammar of ash. I learned how to speak in storms. I learned to let the flames tell the truth that the smiles refused to say. Fire doesn't apologize. It clarifies. You want to know how a heart turns into iron? Stop feeding it lies. Stop calling the cage a garden. Stop kissing the hand that closes the door. Open your eyes to the chessboard. See the game for what it is. I stood at that board alone. The pawns were apologies. The bishops were excuses. The knights were rumors. The queen was hope, and she was already gone. Across from me sat nobody, and nobody was winning. So I flipped the board and carved my rules into the wood. They talk about closure like it's a door you can find in the dark. There is no door. There's a wall. There is your shoulder. There's the sound of stone moving because you pushed. But I noticed. I cared. And I remember. Memory is a forge. Hold it long enough and it burns you clean. You can shatter, or you can shape. I chose shape. I sealed the old chambers. I barred the windows where drafts of doubt kept creeping in. I swept the shards from the floor and kept one in my pocket, not as a wound, as a warning. The soft voice begged me to forgive before I understood. The hard voice told me to hate before I healed. I threw both voices into the fire and listened to the silence. The silence was honest. It said, "Build." I built with absence. I built with focus. I built with the discipline that grief hammers into the spine. Every brick was a boundary. Every boundary was a law. Every law wore my name. I took off the crown that cut me and watched it fall apart. Not a relic, a lesson. If a crown requires your silence, it will eat your voice. If love requires your death, it is not love. It is hunger wearing perfume. So I fed myself truth. Small bites at first. Sharp, bitter, clean. I let it carve me lean. I let it strip me of every fragile ornament. Ornaments burn, essence doesn't. I forgave myself for believing. I forgave myself for staying too long in rooms where the air was gone. I forgave the heart for breaking the only way it knew how, completely. I did not forgive the indifference. I outlived it. Watch closely. This is how a fall becomes a flight. Not with wings, with will. Not with mercy, with order. Not with applause, with silence that obeys me now. The storm inside me learned my name. The fire inside me learned my law. The crown inside me learned to bow before my honor. I am not what I was when I entered the blaze. I am what the blaze revealed. The city keeps moving. Let it. The clocks keep laughing. Let them. I am done asking time for permission. I am done asking ghosts for answers. The last petal fell. The last promise cracked. The last soft prayer turned to smoke. I did not chase it. I filled my lungs with the air it left. Air tastes different when you stop begging it to be perfume. Hear me now. You who mistook my quiet for defeat. You who traded my name for the comfort of the crowd. You who watched without watching. I watched. I learned. I changed. The lesson is carved in me like a law in stone. Love without honor collapses. Honor without discipline scatters. Discipline without legacy dies. So I choose all three in order. Honor, discipline, legacy. The eulogy is finished. Do not send flowers. Send focus. Send edges. Send the kind of silence that answers to me. The funeral of love became the birth of something darker. Not a monster, a monarch, not a victim, a verdict. And the sentence is simple. I rise, and I do not look back. I dug a grave inside my chest and buried myself in it. I thought I could bury the pain. I thought if I pressed it deep enough, it would vanish in the soil of silence. But graves are not endings. They are containers. They keep the body. They keep the rot. And inside me, the rot whispered louder than the living ever did. The echoes of affection became chains, rattling in the dark. Every smile turned into iron links. Every memory clanged against my ribs like a prison gate. What was once warmth became shackles, and I was both prisoner and guard. Do you know that sound? The sound of your own heart, dragging the weight of ghosts. That was my song. That was my anthem. Was I too soft? Was I blind? Or was I simply human? I tore myself apart with the question. Softness felt like weakness. Blindness felt like stupidity. But humanity felt like the cruelest joke of all. To feel was to suffer. To care was to be cut. And yet I could not stop. Because even in the hollow, even in the grave, something in me still refused to die. The war inside was merciless. To remain broken or to rise sharpened by the wound. One voice said, "Stay down. Bleed quietly. No one is watching." Another hissed, "Stand. Crawl if you must. But rise." I could not tell which voice was mine. Maybe both were. Maybe that was the truth. I was both the broken corpse and the buried king. They thought silence was surrender. It was strategy. I let them believe I was defeated. I let them believe I was ash. Silence taught me patience. Silence taught me calculation. When you stop speaking, you start listening. And in that quiet, I heard the patterns of betrayal. I heard the rhythm of lies. I heard the weakness in the voices that thought they broke me. Every tear became a stone, and soon I had built a fortress. Brick by brick, tear by tear, the same grief they gave me became my foundation. The walls rose high, and I carved my laws into them. Not mercy, not trust, discipline, focus, memory. Each stone heavy, each stone eternal. A fortress not to keep the world out, but to remind the world it cannot walk through me again. The heart broke. But the bones of my will remained unbroken, and bones are stronger than flesh. Bones endure fire. Bones endure decay. Bones carry the story long after the body has gone. So I leaned on the bones. I stood on the bones. I crowned myself with the bones of what I had lost. Do you understand what I am telling you? Look at your scars. Do you see weakness? Or do you see survival etched into the skin? Do you see ruin? Or do you see blueprints for something no blade can touch again? Scars are not shame. Scars are scripture. And I have read mine until I could recite every chapter by heart. I dug a grave inside my chest. Yes, but graves are not only for endings. Graves are also for beginnings. Seeds are buried too, and no one calls that death. In the hollow, in the silence, something took root. Not love, not hope, something stronger, something ruthless. They thought I was gone. They thought I was finished. They thought wrong, because graves do not only bury, graves also teach you how to rise without fear. Once you've already died inside, what else is there left to fear? So I climbed, with dirt under my nails and fury in my lungs. I clawed my way out of the soil of despair. I tore my coffin apart with the hunger to breathe again. And when I rose, I was not what I had been. I was the silence turned into thunder. The grave turned into a crown. The ashes turned into an empire. Listen carefully. I did not escape that hollow grave. I carried it with me. It beats where my heart once was. It whispers its cold reminder. You died once, never again. The heart broke, but the bones of my will remained unbroken. And bones cannot be bent. Bones cannot be bribed. Bones cannot be killed. I'm not soft anymore. I'm not blind anymore. I'm not merely human anymore. I'm the grave you buried me in. I am the silence you mistook for surrender. I am the fortress your betrayal built, and I will never fall again. Pain is the most honest teacher, and I listened. It stripped me bare. It clawed the skin from my illusions. It tore every comfort I clung to into ribbons. And in the ruin I discovered what the soft never learn. Pain tells the truth. The fire did not burn me. It tempered me. It was not destruction. It was refinement. I entered as flesh, fragile and trembling. I walked out as steel, unbending, unbreakable. Do you understand? The flames did not consume me. They baptized me, and in that baptism, I became something the world could no longer touch. Love died, but something else breathed. It was not gentle. It was not kind. It was hunger. It was clarity. It was the sound of my own blood vowing never to kneel again. What love abandoned, rage adopted. What tenderness killed, defiance revived. I was not empty. I was reborn. The chains snapped, not by mercy, but by rage. Mercy would have left me weak. Mercy would have left me waiting. But rage sharpens the edges. Rage teaches you how to turn chains into weapons. I wore the shackles until they cracked under the weight of my fury. And when they broke, I did not throw them aside. I gripped them, I swung them, I crowned myself with them. You thought I was finished. You thought I was broken. You thought wrong. Repeat it until it echoes through the marrow. You thought I was finished. You thought I was broken. You thought wrong. That is the anthem of those who survive betrayal. That is the oath carved into the hearts of the underestimated. When they laugh, repeat it. When they turn their backs, repeat it. When they return to find you standing taller, repeat it one last time, so the sound haunts them longer than your silence ever did. In betrayal's ashes, a crown of shadows began to rise. It rose not from kindness, not from hope, but from the carcass of everything they tried to bury. Shadows do not need applause. Shadows do not need permission. They rise because the light betrayed them. And I rose with them. Do you see it now? This fire, this storm, this crown made of smoke and memory. It was never given. It was never gifted. It was earned. It was stolen from the jaws of despair. And it will never be taken from me again. I am not what you left behind. I am what your betrayal created. Say it until your throat bleeds. Say it until the walls of your chest rattle with thunder. I am not what you left behind. I am what your betrayal created. There is no greater revenge. There is no sharper blade. There is no higher throne. Look at your scars. Do you see ruins? Or do you see a map of battles survived? Do you see fragility? Or proof that you were too strong to kill? The scars are not reminders of pain. They are reminders of the cost of underestimating you and those who placed them there. They should pray to gods that don't answer, because here is the truth betrayal taught me. When love collapses, fire replaces it. When trust rots, rage plants roots. And when silence grows too heavy, it cracks open into thunder. I became the thunder, and thunder does not apologize. I am not soft anymore. I'm not blind anymore. I'm not yours anymore. I am mine, entirely mine. And there is no prison, no chain, no voice strong enough to claim me again. They thought they killed me. They thought they ended my reign before it began. But I do not die in silence. I do not die in betrayal. I do not die in fire. I am built of fire, and fire bows to me now. Understand this. I am the consequence of your cruelty. I am the monument to your indifference. I am the proof that what you tried to destroy, you only refined. The dagger you left in my back became the blade I carry in my hand. The shadow you cast over me became the crown I wear without shame. And now, when I breathe storms. When I speak knives. When I walk with the weight of fire in my veins. There is no going back. There is no forgiveness. There's only forward. There's only power. Pain is the most honest teacher. And I listened. I listened so long the world mistook my silence for defeat. But silence is not defeat. Silence is preparation. Silence is strategy. Silence is the storm counting its seconds before it breaks the sky. And the sky will break. It always breaks. But when it does, remember, I am not the one hiding under roofs anymore. I am the lightning. I am the fire. I am the storm they swore I could never command. The revelation was simple. You cannot bury fire. You cannot chain it. You cannot silence it. You can only fear it. And from this day forward, you will. I was forged in betrayal, carved by loss and crowned in silence. That is the truth of my becoming. I was not sculpted in comfort. I was not raised by love. I was built by knives. I was fed with ashes. And the silence they left me in became the throne they never meant me to find. The knives they left in my back became my arsenal. Every wound, a weapon. Every scar, a strategy. Do you understand? They thought they ended me with their cruelty. But cruelty does not end. It transforms. They gave me blades without knowing it, and I carry them still. I walk with shadows, but I do not bow to them. They bow to me. Darkness does not terrify me. I have lived in it. I have dined with it. I have stared at the abyss so long, it learned my name. And now, it kneels. The shadows no longer chase me. They follow. The silence no longer traps me. It serves. The void no longer consumes me. It crowns me. Fear is no longer my enemy. It is my servant. Once, fear caged me. It made me beg. It made me hesitate. It made me crawl. But fear, when harnessed, becomes an army. It sharpens the senses. It multiplies the will. It spreads like wildfire into the hearts of enemies, weakening them before the blade even falls. So I took fear. I broke its chains, and now it carries my banners. When love died, I was reborn as something they cannot kill. They tried to bury me in heartbreak. They tried to drown me in abandonment. They tried to burn me in betrayal. But you cannot kill what has already died and risen from its ashes. They murdered the softness. They executed the innocence. They buried the human. But what crawled out of the grave was something else. Not fragile, not breakable, not theirs. Mine, entirely mine. The world mistook my ruin as an ending. It was my coronation. They celebrated my downfall. They whispered of my collapse. They laughed as if my silence was permanent. But silence is not death. Silence is strategy. While they cheered my ruin, I was sharpening the crown. While they mocked my fall, I was building my throne. And when I rose again, it was not to reclaim what I lost. It was to claim what they never deserved. Power was not given to me. I tore it from the hands of those unworthy. I did not inherit it. I did not beg for it. I did not ask politely for a seat at their table. I flipped the table. I broke the chairs. I carved my own seat from the stone they thought would crush me. Power belongs to the relentless. Power belongs to the ones who rise when everyone else stays buried. Power belongs to the ones who are willing to take it. And I took it. Listen, I was not born ruthless. I was made ruthless. Made by betrayal. Made by silence. Made by every hand that turned away when I reached out. And if the world thinks that is cruelty, then let them choke on the taste of it. Because cruelty is not what I seek. I seek balance. I seek justice carved in steel. I seek order built from the chaos they left me in. Do you feel it? The storm I carry now. It does not rage out of control. It does not scatter into aimless thunder. Number this storm is disciplined. This storm bends to my will. I command it, and when it breaks, it does so on my terms. I do not hide the scars. I do not soften the story, because every scar is a scripture of survival. Every fracture is proof of endurance. And every time they said, "You will not rise," I answered with silence first. And thunder second. Look at your scars. Do you see weakness? Or do you see maps carved into your flesh, leading you to strength? Look at your fears. Do you see enemies? Or do you see soldiers waiting for a commander? Look at your betrayals. Do you see death? Or do you see fire that will temper you into steel? I saw it. I claimed it. And that is why I stand here now, unbroken. They will call me ruthless. Yes, because to those who thrive in weakness, discipline looks like cruelty. To those who worship lies, truth looks like violence. To those who seek comfort, power looks like tyranny. But I was not born to comfort them. I was not born to soothe them. I was born to outlast them. I was born to command shadows, to bend fear, to wear silence as a crown. I was forged in betrayal, carved by loss, crowned in silence, and from that silence came law, my law. Do not mistake my calm for mercy. Mercy was buried with love. Do not mistake my patience for weakness. Patience is only the pause before the blade falls. Do not mistake my scars for fragility. They are not cracks. They are carvings. And they spell only one word: power. This is not the power they brag about in crowded rooms. This is not the power of applause or empty crowns. This is the power of survival, the power of discipline, the power that crawled from the grave with dirt in its mouth and thunder in its lungs. The kind of power they cannot kill because they did not give it. I gave it to myself, and I will keep it until shadows vanish, until crowns rust, until knives dull, until the silence itself bows at my feet. I was forged in betrayal, carved by loss, and crowned in silence. The knives they left in my back became my arsenal. I walk with shadows, but I do not bow to them. They bow to me. Fear is no longer my enemy. It is my servant. When love died, I was reborn as something they cannot kill. The world mistook my ruin as an ending. It was my coronation. Power was not given to me. I tore it from the hands of those unworthy, and now I hold it forever. They will not speak of my heartbreak. They will speak of my reign. The story of my wounds will wither. The tale of betrayal will fade into whispers, but the empire born from it will stand. For centuries, for lifetimes, for as long as shadows exist. Love fades, power imprints, Love is fragile ink, washed away by rain. Power is carved into stone, immovable, undeniable. They built their lives on fragile promises. I built mine on iron laws. And when history remembers us, it will not weigh tears. It will weigh thrones. When my name is carved in stone, it will not be followed by theirs. Do you understand? My name will not be chained to theirs in memory. Their faces will rot into dust, forgotten like autumn leaves in a storm. But my name will thunder across generations. It will not be spoken softly. It will be whispered like a warning. It will be shouted like a vow. It will live long after love's corpse has turned to ash. They gave me absence. I gave them eternity. Their betrayal was small, petty, forgettable. But what it birthed in me, that is eternal. Absence can wound, yes, but it can also forge. And when it forges, it creates something beyond flesh. It creates legacy. Their absence was their gift, so my eternity is my answer. The silence after the storm is not peace. It is dominance. Peace is fragile. Peace is temporary. But dominance is silence that cannot be challenged. It is the quiet that follows destruction. The hush of fear in the throats of those who remain. The stillness when no one dares to rise against you. That is my silence now. Not weakness, not surrender. Rule. Look at your scars. Do you see endings? Or do you see beginnings? Do you see pain? Or do you see the blueprint of empires yet to come? I chose to see the latter. I chose to see the ashes not as ruins, but as soil. And from that soil, I grew my legacy. One not bound by affection, one not shackled by hope, but one secured by fire, shadow, and iron. This is my legacy, proof that when love dies, power is born. Let it echo. Let it be carved into the bones of those who mocked me. Let it be written in the silence that follows every storm. When the world thought they ended me, I began. When they believed betrayal would bury me, I rose. And when love died, I inherited something greater. I inherited fear. I inherited shadow. I inherited eternity. Do not look for softness in me now. Do not look for forgiveness in my eyes. Look only for the truth written in thunder. The broken do not stay broken. The betrayed do not stay buried. The forgotten do not stay silent. We rise, we endure, we reign. And when they build monuments, they will build mine. When they tell stories, they will tell mine. Not because I asked, not because I begged, but because legacy does not ask for permission. It demands recognition. And mine was born from betrayal's womb and carved by fire's hand. They will not speak of my heartbreak. They will speak of my reign. Love fades, power imprints. When my name is carved in stone, it will not be followed by theirs. They gave me absence. I gave them eternity. The silence after the storm is not peace. It is dominance. This is my legacy. Proof that when love dies, power is born. And when the last word is spoken, when the last fire burns out, when even the shadows bow in reverence, I will still remain. And I am immortal.